House of Ramirez does not do sports, politics, or religion. However, understanding that the city elections are this year and how impactful and important it is for all of us Atlantans, I have decided to open my platform to politics, to give a fair shot to each running candidate to tell their story. This conversation needed to happen, and we are having the conversation for the love of community.
Hey guys, this is House of Ramirez. Y'all know what's up. We out here representing and making sure we spotlight entrepreneurs that are doing big in the community. And as many of you guys know, I don't do politics, I don't do sports, and I don't do religion. But I feel that with members of my community that are causing positive change, it's only right I bring certain candidates onto my platform and give them a fair shot to voice who they are. So I want to go ahead and tell candidates' point of view of how their life is, who they are, and what plans do they have, okay? So without wasting any more time, I want to go ahead and bring on my brother, JEREME SHARPE. JEREME, can you please go ahead and tell us who you are and where you are from?
Hey, so first of all, good morning, great morning. Thank you so much, Leslie, for doing this. As I said before, just these type of conversations and interviews one-on-one are so important, especially for candidates like me that don't always perform the best in these 90-second intervals in these forums. So first off, I appreciate that. But my first name is JEREME. My last name is Sharpe. My family and myself were all from Liberty City. So Liberty City is Miami, Florida. So you probably heard City Girls, Trina, Trick Daddy, all those people are from Miami City, Liberty City, Dade County in particular. I'm sure that maybe you know already, Leslie, about Dade County, Liberty City. So that's where we're from. When I was maybe about 3 or 4 years old, my family moved up to Georgia. Most of my family still stayed down in Florida, in Miami, but a lot of us moved up to Gwinnett County. We wanted that whole better life thing, like we got to do better. So that's where my family moved. Now, some of my earliest memories were my mom and her twin sister. They were both assistant managers and they both worked or managers at KFCs. So they each had their own little KFC stores, and that was what we remember growing up from them. And literally me and my cousins will be in the back of the KFC stores while they're like basting chicken and the trucks are coming in. Like that was very much our early life. And then from there, when I was maybe about 10 years old, my dad, he went to prison. My mom lost her job. And then we started cleaning buildings. We started like cleaning apartment buildings, real estate buildings, office buildings, all these buildings. So that's what I did from maybe about 10 until like 14 or 15 when I could get a real job working at Kroger, like bagging. And I remember those summers I was at my cousin's house because my mom, like my dad was away. She didn't really want that me to know and all this. She wanted me to still have the family structure. So just like walking to Kroger, going to work. So that really was what I like to tell people. That was my childhood. I didn't really get to see the movies. People are like, do you remember that movie or this movie? I'm just like, baby, I was working. Like I do not remember those movies. I was in the back of a KFC. I was on the way somewhere. Like I don't remember that at all, y'all. So for me, like even now, like, and we'll get there, like my slogan is like, I'm here to do the work. And it's because that really and truly is almost all I know. It's what I know, it's what I love, it's very much what I do. And it's a big part of just who I am today. And really being very precise with things, really delving into things, asking the hard questions, and also being willing and ready to roll up my sleeves to get things done. So that's a little bit more about where I'm from. From there, finished school, went to Georgia State for a little bit. Life happens, left Georgia State, moved to New York City when I was 20 years old, got into real estate. And that's really where my career, I should say my professional career really got started, was in New York. Was on a train, ran into some multi-millionaire, really like sitting on the train. And I tell people all the time, that really is what a big part of what you pay for in New York City. People are like, well, it's so expensive. You pay for opportunity. is what you pay for. Every corner you go around, every train ride you're on, there's this opportunity to meet somebody. And my opportunity came just being on a train and somebody talking about real estate. And they were like, all right, you need to go get your license. So that's how I ended up getting into real estate and affordable housing and working with homeless organizations to get people out of homelessness and into housing. So I have running real estate firms, starting my own real estate firms. That is very much my background. So when I talk about housing, I really talk about housing from like the beginning to end, the developer standpoint. I get it very much. So got into real estate. Then from there, being in New York, somehow found my way into digital cartography. So I draw maps, hence the big map behind me. So right. Somehow found a way into digital cartography. So a lot of the maps that you'll maybe even see today, say you go to like realtor.com or maybe even Zillow.com, and you type in a neighborhood, me or maybe about 20 to 30 other mappers across the United States more than likely drew those boundaries around that neighborhood or whatever it is. So got into digital mapping and cartography, and then somehow found my way into working on some transportation projects in New York City, something very similar to the Beltline we had in New York City called Queens Link, which is where you reactivate an old train line or old train track and make it into a space where people are walking and biking, and eventually there would be transit. So just going to community board meetings and really getting involved in New York City really introduced me to a lot of those people in the areas of planning and transportation. So yeah, that's a little bit my background. I'm 31 now. I live downtown in the heart of the city, right near 5 Point Station. I walk everywhere, I bike everywhere. I don't have a car. Me and my dog, you'll see us out there. We're always scooting around, doing things. And that's my background. I mean, I think you and I have talked very briefly a little bit about, I have been homeless before. I get that whole thing. Been in the system, lived in SROs, lived in shelters, done all of that. So I very much have a direct insight into what's that's like and how to fix it. And I have that's a whole different conversation to really have. So that's a little bit about me, or a lot about me, my background, where I'm from, and all of that.
Well, I want to say I'm going to go ahead and virtually pat your back, man. Like that's truth, man. When you go through life, you don't have time for a lot of things. And people, how do you not know that? How do you not? Because I was busy surviving life. And shout out to Dade County. Y'all know my brothers were born in Florida. Both my brothers, the one in prison and the one that's out here with us. Both of them are Florida babies. Yeah, so shout out to Florida. I come from Texas. Y'all know how we do it. We do it big, but I was raised here in Atlanta, and the way we were raised, we hopped around a lot. And one of those places we hopped to and out from was Gwinnett County. So shout out the north side. Y'all know how we get down. From what I'm hearing, your family's, particularly your mom, she's a go-getter. She don't care what life throws at her. She is gonna get the job done. So with that being said, I don't expect anything less from you, Jereme. So I can definitely understand that when you let us know, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm doing this, it's because you have done this. You have walked the walk for such a long time. And as a self-made entrepreneur, as somebody that is fully successful, I recognize another entrepreneur that's also fully successful. We got it out the mud. So I'm very proud of you. I'm glad that we got this opportunity to talk so we could go ahead and let people know who the hell you really are. Because we all see the vote for me, vote for Pedro. And I only say that because it's a Napoleon movie. I don't own rights to that. But you guys are human. And that's what this is about. It's not about, what side, nothing. You are human. Tell us your story, and we know your story, and you got it out the mud. You're doing big things. We're proud of you. And we're so glad that you left New York, big shit popping, to come down to the South to bring us what you know. And I think that it's amazing that you know real estate, you know the ins and outs. So when you speak on it, you actually know what you're talking about. You live through it, you learn through it, and now you're mastering it to help others. So kudos to you, man. Kudos to you. So let's go ahead and dive into a few political questions. So the people out there that are like, we like politics, what the hell are you gonna talk about? We could go ahead and, you know, indulge their mind. So I want to go ahead and ask you first, what do you consider to be the top 3 issues for your district? And please tell us what district that is.
So yeah, so as y'all know, or as I know, as Leslie knows, so I'm running for post 1 at large. So whenever you see at large, whenever you hear at large, that automatically means citywide. So in Atlanta, we have 12 districts. Whenever you see post 1, that will cover all 12 districts. So whether it's Buckhead, Ben Hill, Acres, South Side, West Side, I will be representing all of those areas. So all 12 districts. So that's what post 1 at large is about. That's what it represents. And going into the question just about the 3 biggest issues, running citywide, as we know in our city, and I'll talk about this a little bit, for a very long time in the city, we had the Northeast and we had the Southwest of Atlanta. That is very much what we had. And what's happened over these last 10 years in particular, because of the Beltline, we've kind of had this emergence of kind of this in-town population that wants bike lanes and bus lanes, and they want to be very urbane. And I believe that the Beltline, I remember when I left Atlanta in 2010, the Pond City Market was City Hall East. The windows were busted out. There was no Beltline. West Midtown had 1016 lofts over there, and that was it. There was no West Midtown. There was no Upper West Side. There was none of that. And there were things to do in the city, but it wasn't as robust with all the restaurants you can go to now. It wasn't that. And I say that because one of the issues in the city, I say, is one, housing. Housing across the city is very much one of our issues, and creating all types of housing. I think when we talk about housing, many times we talk about creating just affordable housing. In our city, we need all types of housing. We need a housing system that is creating housing for apartments for those that are low income and that are just looking to rent and have somewhere stable to be. We need housing for the unsheltered population also. We need housing for the middle class that are just looking for home ownership. They've maybe gotten past, okay, well, we were renters, now we want home ownership. We want to be able to achieve that now. So we do have that middle class, and then we also have the upper class, and they just want more. They want high-end development, world-class development. And I say to that, there's nothing wrong with that. When our city, it's so massive and we have so much land throughout our city that it can work for everybody. Unfortunately, it has not been working for everybody, but it should be working for everybody, because we're not in New York or a San Francisco or a Paris where we're scrapped for land. We're not scrapped for land in Atlanta, Georgia. We have plenty of it. So we have plenty of opportunity to build affordable housing, high-end housing, homeless shelters. We have plenty of land to be able to do that. So I say, going back to the question, one of the issues citywide, or topics to really talk about, and what I say is rebuild, is our housing system in general. And again, it is creating housing for those that are unsheltered, those that are low income, those that are middle class, and those that are upper class. We have to do all of them and at the same time. So when we talk about housing, I always tell people, and I end by saying, housing is like a bag or a toolbox. And inside of that housing toolbox, we have multiple tools that we can be using to generate housing. We have the affordable housing tool, where every new development is having 20% of the units that are for those that are lower income. We have condo conversions. We have tax exemption tools that we could be using for those that are elderly, so that they can actually remain in their homes while their property values are going up and their taxes aren't. There's about a dozen different tools in that toolbox, but it's important for us to know those tools exist, know how to use those tools, and know when and where to use those tools. Right now, we have a big rezoning going on in our city, as you know. I don't believe that was the right tool for every neighborhood in our city. It should have been more on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis when we were using that particular tool. So it was knowing about the tool and knowing where to use that tool and when to use that tool. So one, it's housing. Two, it's reconnecting our transportation system again. Transportation is not, traffic is not going to get any better in our city anytime soon. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but building more roads is just not our solution. We really have to be focused on alternative transportation right now. We need to be looking towards getting our buses connected better throughout our neighborhoods and having them connecting with our job centers. We need to look towards the streetcar. And back in the day, we used to have a robust streetcar network going throughout our city, connecting all of our neighborhoods. That's what we need again. The streetcar as it stands today, no one loves it because it doesn't actually move residents in the city. Tourists barely ride on it. So the key to the streetcar is we need it to just be connecting to more neighborhoods and residents throughout our city is what we need to be focused on. It's not horrible that it started in the middle of downtown, but it's horrible that it didn't extend yet to other parts of our city where people can actually utilize it and get connected to downtown. And that's what I really look forward to when we talk about just the streetcar. But transportation is definitely the number 2 issue. And third, it's really going to be reinvesting into our business economy. So that's looking at our small businesses and giving them the support that they need, that being financial support, that being resources, that being many of these big companies have these really expensive management consultants that can tell them all what to do. Our small businesses need access to these management consultants to tell them, this is what your branding needs to look like. We need more Leslies talking to all of these businesses, right? And saying, this is what you need to do to be able to keep up with the market right now. Your branding needs to look like this. Your logo needs to look like this. Our small businesses don't really have access to that type of resource. What you're doing is you're not giving them the resource that they need to be able to continue. So many of our small businesses right now, that's what they need. Yeah, they need resources all day, but many of them need the marketing support. Many of them need the public relations support. Many of them need even just the human capital. They need the training. They need the change management. And I believe that in our city right now, we do have different resources that are out there, rather it be the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. Recently, I was speaking with the candidate, Courtney, out of District 6 she's running, and she was telling me that even the state of Georgia has 6 or 7 centers that are spread across our city, our state. And Atlanta has one of these centers that businesses can go to, small businesses can go to and get access to capital and resources. But a big problem is that many of our businesses don't know about these resources. And us as elected officials, or when I eventually get there, our elected officials, we haven't done a good enough job telling people about these resources and creating the right programs or mechanisms to lead them to the resources that we very much already have. So the 3 biggest issues in our city, and also what I believe to be the 3 core desires of people, would be everyone wants housing, affordable housing. Everyone wants living wages or a business that is providing them with the income that they need to do what they need to do. And everybody needs alternative transportation to be able to move around freely. Those are the big three. If we can get everybody a roof over their head, the wages that they need to afford the food and the daycare and the doctor and all of this, and also the transportation, we can do a whole lot more. So those are my main three areas I'm focused on. Again, it's rebuilding our housing system, reconnecting our transportation system, and reinvesting into our business economy, that being small businesses, and also giving our large businesses the talent pool that they very much need.
Jereme, I just want to say, yo, you touched that so much. It's so true. We need to be able to have a roof over our head, something we can afford to put that roof over our head, and then the wheels, however many wheels we need, whatever kind of wheels we need, whether it's train or bus, to get to that place, to make money, to provide the roof. And it's a whole triangle effect, right? It's a triangle effect. So you hit that on the nail really well. I want to thank you for that, because I think a lot of us, especially in the city, we could feel where you're coming from. Shadi over here has not had a car since 2018, and Shadi walks. Shadi does not bike, but buses and MARTAs everywhere. Firm believer, okay?
I love it. We got to get them sidewalks together, especially with us walking. We got to. So yes, I love it. Please keep it up. Thank you.
It's definitely a big part of our lives, So yeah, we got to focus on the important things, not just the things that people tend to want to hear because that's what they want. No, what does the general city population care about? And those are three things that we do care about. What I want to ask you next is, what makes you want to do this? Now, I know you're very motivated to give us better, right? And otherwise we wouldn't be here. You're very passionate about certain things because you yourself have lived it. Just like when I'm passionate about some, it's because I have lived some, I felt something, and I want to help others so they could better themselves. But what is your motivation to run for post 1 at large?
So I truly believe, I'm a big believer in neighborhoods. What I love about Atlanta is that we have these 242, some would say up to 275 unique neighborhoods. Rather it is East Atlanta Village, rather it is one of the 42 neighborhoods that's in Buckhead, rather it's Kirkwood, Candler Park. Every neighborhood is so unique and so special, and I love that. And as you know, I live right here in downtown. I live in the Farley Poplar neighborhood in downtown. And I love my neighborhood, I do. And we have a lot of stuff in our neighborhood. We have the bike lanes, we have the restaurants and the shops. We have that very urban environment where I am. And I really want for other people, other neighborhoods, every neighborhood to have that same opportunity. I'm running on a mission to make Atlanta this #1 city in America for everyone to live, work, play, and love, for everybody. And I believe that a part of getting to that goal is for every neighborhood to be providing that same opportunity. Right now, every one of our neighborhoods does not provide the opportunity for everyone to live, to work, to play, and to love. That's not the case. And that's what we very much need. So a part of me, even in living in downtown and working with different organizations to do things and email and counsel people, it got very tiring, really. It got tiring when you're trying to do better for your community, when you're trying to reach out and work with elected officials, when you're trying to work with the different organizations that are tasked that are tasked with fixing a lot of our issues, like a Partners for Home that's tasked with fixing homelessness in the city. And you're working with these organizations or these elected officials, or you're trying to, and you're seeing that progress is just not being made. And what you see is that these people, these organizations, many of them just don't have enough skin in the game to really care. They just simply don't know. I don't bash our elected officials for what they have or have not done. What I say is that they have not lived the lifestyles that we have lived, many of them. So they can't necessarily write policy for that or write the right policy for what we're looking for or ask the right questions. They might be able to ask a question, but it may not be the right question. They may be able to provide a solution, but it may not be the right solution because they don't know what we have been through as a people. They haven't had that experience, many of them, just because the way their lives are. And I'll say, it's fine to do that. That's totally fine to have that lifestyle and to grow up like that. I grew up, I tell people, in Gwinnett County. I know all about the suburbs. I know all about it. That was my lifestyle. When I was 18, 19, I wanted to come to Atlanta. That's where I wanted to be. I wanted this urban life. I wanted to be around to be Black people. That's what I wanted to be around because I wanted new, better, different in my life. I wanted more. So a part of, going back to the question, a part of me running is that seeing this beautiful, magnificent city and all the resources that we have here, all the talent that we have here from all the universities, the LGBT community, seeing all of that and not almost taking advantage of it, utilizing it, highlighting it to the point where everybody can really win. And for me, that's all I see when I was fighting with these elected officials over why can't we get this bike lane done? Why can't we get new bus shelters put in for people that are waiting in the hot sun to get on a bus to go to a job interview? Why can't we do these things? And the better question was, why do we keep having to fight for it? Why do we keep having to fight so hard to get the basic necessities that we need for many of us to survive? Sidewalks, we can't even, children can't even walk to school because our sidewalks are either non-existent or they're broken. Sidewalks even. So if we can't even provide the basics to the people that live in the city, the basics to the people that have been living in the city, we won't really get into white flight and how many of the Black and brown people in Atlanta stayed in Atlanta, held it down while there was little to no investment happening in Atlanta. We won't shout out to the southwest of Atlanta just for still staying true to Atlanta while we watched all of the investment dollars go into the northeast of Atlanta. And that's very much a part of why I'm running. I'm very much running for equity. And when I talk about equity, I don't just talk about Black people, I talk about elderly people that are no longer represented and left out of the conversation. I talk about the youth that are constantly, always and forever left out of the conversation. I talk about LGBTQ people. I talk about disabled people. All of these groups of people have been left out of the conversation over and over again. And for me, I represent many of these groups of people. And it's time that we very much just had a seat at the table, had true representation, giving true solution for what we need, asking the right questions. Again, not just asking any question or providing any solution, but providing solutions that work and policies that work for us.
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, it's not bashing anybody sitting where they're sitting or sorry, or anybody that's running up against you, because we're not doing that. What we're doing is letting people know we have the experience of getting shit out the mud. We have the experience of walking on roads because the sidewalks aren't there. And when the sidewalks are there, they're so not taken care of that we just can't navigate how we should, when we don't have to worry about that if the right thought was in place for the right policy for us to have what we need to barely survive. So the fact that you have been through it and you're turning around a 180 to change now the future and giving an equal shot to everybody throughout the city is what's beautiful. because you said you went to the city because you wanted nice, and everybody moves to the city because you want that progressive, the new, the just the loving, right? But in order to do that, you have to understand when people don't got it, and you're being equal because you want all parts of the city to have that, not just the nice parts, right? So that's what we need to highlight. We need to highlight that you have a motivation to give everybody a fair shot to have a good and nice, sustainable part of living, whether it's transportation, housing, or even having great jobs. It has to be distributed equally amongst everybody in the city, not just one part. So I want to thank you for that. It's clear and evident that you're motivated and your heart's in the right place. I want to ask you, what do you bring to the job that's unique to you?
I think my favorite question. I think it's really important that we have this mix of city councilors that have these diverse backgrounds. Like, I think that we need a teacher on city council. We need an architect on city council. We need somebody that used to be cleaning. We need people from all walks of life on city council. So when it comes to me, my biggest background is in real estate. And I'm from luxury housing to affordable housing to running a real estate firm to starting a real estate firm. The biggest, I would say, experience that I'm bringing is my experience in housing. One of our biggest issues in our city is housing. Housing is the issue. We need people that know about housing. They know how development works. They know how affordable housing works. They know how the homeless system works, because it's all one big system. And how does it all connect? It's a continuum. How do we get people from point A to point B? How do we get from a shelter into a low income house, into an affordable house, and then into a market rate rental? And then it's a system, and it's knowing how do you take people from this point in the system all the way to the end, which for many people looks like home ownership. So I'm very much bringing that experience when it comes to housing in the professional world, but also just in the personal world as well. But then there's also transportation. We need people, again, with skin in the game. To my knowledge, currently all of our city councilors, they are more car bound. And that is more of a result of just Atlanta more so. I don't blame them at all. Atlanta does not have the proper infrastructure to allow for most people in our city to not have a car. It's just not there yet. But what I can say is that for me, I don't have a car, so I know exactly how MARTA runs. I know exactly how the buses run. I know exactly, and when they're not on time and on time, I know exactly how the sidewalks are. The other day, I literally got knocked off my scooter because a car, I get it, I'm there, I know about it. So I think that it's important that we just have people that just have a little bit of skin in the game. And when it comes to transportation, especially, I very much have that. And then there's also business. We talk a lot about small businesses in our city. We talk a lot about corporations in our city. I've had the opportunity to work on both sides of them. I've worked with small businesses. My family now has small businesses. I myself had a small business, but I've also worked with large corporations. I've worked in Paris with Porsche Design. I worked, that was Zelamc. I've worked with BlackBerry out of Texas. I've worked with these larger corporations also to understand what their needs are. So to answer the question is, I think it's important that we do have city councilors that have experience with the issues that we're facing in our city. The issues that we're facing, and we're facing a housing crisis. I think we need somebody that has experience with some housing. Right now, we're having a big transportation issue. I would like somebody that has a little bit of knowledge or skin in the game about transportation. Business is the same thing. People need jobs, people need living wages. We have corporations that are moving in or coming in, but we're not having it where everyone is benefiting from them. So what type of conversations should already be being had with these companies before they even get here to ensure that the people that are here, our youth in particular, are already in line for these jobs for when these companies come. So we need people with experience in those areas. And again, that's why I'm so happy, because there are other candidates that are running now that also have experience across the board in these different areas, from teaching, from being an engineer, from being a small business owner. So I'm very, very excited about next council, but that's very much what I bring. I bring experience in those areas, housing in particular.
Yes, I love that. Like you said, you definitely have to have a skin in the game, or at least get your hands wet, a little dirty. That doesn't mean just live it 1 year. It means that has to be something that you've been dealing with, that you understand from the beginning to how to solve it to the end. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah. So I want to ask you, why should people vote for you other than other people that are running against you? Please tell us why.
I'm going to be doing this full time. I like to tell people, and I'll dedicate now to let people know, being a city councilman, being a city councilor, it's 50 to 55 hours per week at least. That is the time commitment that you will really need in a city like Atlanta that is growing and developing. What I've noticed over these last even 3 to 4 months running is that every single person has at least one issue, 5 issues, or 10 issues. And a big part of the job, if not 70% of the job, is being able to provide solutions for people, or being able to provide a resource or direction for them to go in to get the solution that they need. So that's just 70% of the job. And when you're running citywide, the population right now is knocking on almost 500,000 people. So that's a lot of issues that you're dealing with, and you need to be able to have the time commitment 100% to deal with this, the time commitment to go to the MPU meetings, to the neighborhood meetings, in which you know already. It's a lot of time. There's 25 MPU meetings, there's 200 or 150 different neighborhood meetings. So there's a time commitment that's there. There's the council meetings, there's the agency meetings, from Atlanta Housing Authority to the Transportation Authority. And it's very important that city councilors are at these meetings. So voting for me, what you're voting for is, you can guarantee I'm going to be at all those meetings. You can guarantee I'm going to be at your neighborhood association meeting without you inviting me, because I want to be there. You're voting for somebody that is really going to be doing the work. 70% of the job is very much showing up. I think they said that in school even. 70% is showing up. So you got to show up, not just to the meetings, but also for the people. And that's what you're voting on. You're voting for somebody that is here to do the work. If you want somebody that's going to work for you every day, pick up the phone and not just give you lip service, give you real solutions. That's why you're voting for me. If you don't want that, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, and that's how it needs to be. There's always a problem to be solved, right? But choosing the appropriate person that's gonna solve it, has been doing it, has had that that track record of doing it, and you have been doing very well. And I'm very proud of you. I'm glad to hear that. You know, your motto speaks louder. In your words, in your actions, speak louder. Your actions speak louder than your words. So even though your motto is getting things done, you've actually been doing that. So I'm glad to hear that you have been doing that, and you want to do that for the city of Atlanta. I want to go ahead and ask you, how I get down, I do shout outs at the end. So if you have anybody, like a small list that you want to go ahead and shout out, that's been in your corner, your life or your career, go ahead and do so. But hit us with the social media, your website, so we could go ahead and follow you and support you.
So I'll start with just the website where you can follow me. So Sharpe, and that's SHARPE. There is an E at the end of Sharpe. So www.sharpe.vote. You can also find me on Twitter at the same handle, at Sharpe, or I'm sorry, at Vote Sharpe. Is where you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the same handle, at Vote Sharpe. Sharpe again has an E at the end. In terms of shout outs, you know what? No one in particular, really. I would just say just everyone just that I've met. since I've really come back to the city of Atlanta, from yourself to being out there at the cleanup that day, to everyone on the MPU calls. I think everyone has been very instrumental in helping me to relearn a lot about Atlanta, reconfirm a lot of things, learn new pieces of information about things that I knew nothing about. I would say everyone is a shout out. If you've met me, if you've interacted with me, shout out to you, because you have certainly taught me something, inspired me in some type of way. And more importantly, I would even say inspired my policy. On my website, you'll see where it says my favorite quote is, "I am still learning." And it's true, I am still learning. I go even further to say, and I'm willing to change. There's always new information that I'm taking in every single day. So yesterday it may have been a no, but today it may be a yes, because I have learned something different. I have gotten better. I have improved. So yeah, shout out to everybody that has helped me do that, and has even led me to this point, truly.
Jereme, it's amazing to hear that even when you get the opportunity to highlight someone, you are very inclusive and you include everyone. You don't want to leave anybody out. And that is definitely going to bring you a lot of support, because people like to be heard. We like to be heard. And it's amazing that you just shout everybody out that has been there in your corner, one way or another. No support amount is too small or too big. So, I'm going to go ahead and shout you and your whole team out. We're going to go ahead and put all the details for your social media and your website down below this video. So it's easy for people to just go ahead and click and follow and support. I want to thank you for making time to being on my show. Thank you so much. And it's the first time, but it's not the last time. So we'll see you soon, Jereme.
And I want to say one more thing before you go. You keep doing this. Like, I remember first seeing you and meeting you, and I'm like, who is this girl? Like, what's going on? But keep doing this. I can't say, I have the amount of conversations I've had with people that I'm just like, damn, like, can they let people talk? Like, can they let people just talk? Like, just, really give candidates and people a chance for other people to know them. Don't give these guided questions. So I thank you for just the time commitment. Me running now, I have a whole new respect for people and time. I will say that. So seeing you, especially now on all these meetings, all these community cleanups, organizing all these things, and still doing this, listen, just you keep doing what you're doing. You already know you have my full support with this. This type of education, political education, is so much needed right now, and especially on the local level, because we know that that's where things get done. Potholes get fixed, sidewalks, affordable housing, new parks, trash getting cleaned up. That is all on the local level. So keep doing what you're doing. Please never stop. And thank you so much for even bringing me onto your platform.
Oh, much appreciated, Jereme. Well, until next time, man. Peace out.
See you later. Peace.
Make sure to follow House of Ramirez on all social media platforms.